So
Good morning. How are you? I'm going to run our promo and we'll be right back. Thank you for joining us. This is Hamden Action Now. We're here just talking with people, various folks throughout the day on reflections on what today means to them with regard to the inauguration of the 46th president of the United States of America. We'll be right back. We're going to go ahead and get us started here. Hey, Sean Grace, our fearless leader of the Hamden Democratic Town Committee. I know you're very excited today, as well as I am, because I'm a member of the Hamden Democratic Town Committee. And it's a very auspicious occasion. We're talking today, we're having everybody kind of do live check-ins on, what the day means to them with regard to, President Biden and Harris, and, really what kind of happened with our democracy, today. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, President.
Well, so first, I think you had it right, President Obama, President
Biden.
Because look, I think that at the end of the day, the Democrats chose Biden because there was a comfort level there, and I think that's with the disaster of the Trump presidency. Really, it's not too strong to say that our democracy was in the balance there. And I think there are a lot of folks that wanted some stability, and I think with Biden and amazingly with Kamala Harris, you have kind of both, right? You have on one hand this sense of stability, someone who's been there, he was President Obama's lieutenant, for 8 years, loyal, and so we know what we're getting there. But then we also have kind of this foot heading towards the future with Vice President Kamala Harris, and that's just amazing. First woman vice president, first vice president of color, and I think there's so much hope there. And we talked about before, there's, I think because we've had a long time where there's been this buildup of anxiety, that there's a lot of sense of, okay, well, now that we have the reins of government, we control somewhat the Senate, with Vice President Harris's tie-breaking vote in the Senate. We control the Senate and we control the House. And this is the first time in 10 years that's been the case. 10 years since we've controlled as Democrats. And so now there's a real thirst to actually get some things done. But I think just getting to this point has to be celebrated today, because I think even just a short time ago, frankly, even this morning, to some extent, at least a little bit, I was concerned, on how the day was going to go. They're not sworn in yet, but it's close enough to that time. And with Trump out of the White House, is looking good. And so, I'm really hopeful. I wish this was a national holiday. I think, and I wish we could be in DC today. I was posting about this on Facebook. Really, it was just a picture of Trump and his helicopter leaving. and by the way, while he's getting into the helicopter, fantastic, you could see someone with a big ladder going into the White House. I'm assuming to change the drapes,
Right.
And so
tell me what your thoughts are on, an American president having to rise to the occasion and needing the temperament of a person that can rise to the occasion, as we saw with the COVID crisis, the divided nation that we live in today. As we're part of a political party, I'm a Democrat since 1986. You're the chair of our town committee. Tell me what your thoughts are really on what this democracy, revealed to you during this election process.
Well, what it showed me, and not just the whole lead up to the election, it showed me that democracies are fragile things, and if Trump was a bit more competent in terms of his plans to thwart the will of the people, then we might have lost this experiment in democracy. And I think it is. They'll be writing about this. There'll be countless books and movies about this time, and I think as time goes on, we're going to learn even more about just how close we really were to losing everything. And so it makes you take stock of the little things, which should be every president should pay attention to the science, treat all Americans equally, and when you talk about COVID, well, I mean, Trump openly talked about helping certain states more than other states, and you just couldn't imagine a President Biden talking like that, and it's just that normalcy. A little. I think we could all use a little calm, right? I don't know about you, but this has been. I know because we've talked about it that this has been an incredibly stressful period, and I think all across our country, there's been this constant, at least low level of stress that people have been feeling, obviously the pandemic, but also with what has been happening, in Washington.
Yeah, I think that what I see today, I've got the TV going because we're gonna sign off about 11:30 so we can watch the ceremony. It's a resurrection of the Democratic republic that we are part of, that we're blessed to be a part of. Really a country that's led by the people, and the people spoke resoundingly for change on November 3rd. For whatever reason, whatever that change looked like for you, everyone spoke on what they wanted their change to look like. And without democracy and without that's what Black people marched and were killed and lynched for in the 1960s, and for the ability for Black and brown people to be able to register to vote and exercise their civil rights to go to the polls and elect their leadership. And this was more, even during the Barack Obama years in 2008 and 2012, Black folks went to the polls, but they went to the polls resoundingly in this election. And without that, we would have a different story right now. So, I believe that this is the time for everyone to understand how important voting is, how important it is to get involved from even the national level, which is what we have now with our president, but more so on the municipal level. Whatever party you're in, or if you're not even affiliated with a party, this is a great example of how important it is for every voice to be heard.
Yeah, you're. By the way, talking about getting involved and local level and all of that. Fantastic intro video. I had chills watching it. Really, it was, obviously, you're about as grassroots as they come, right? You're not just talking about national politics. You're on the ground in your town, in our town, and fighting. And I think it was that activism at the local level that really had a great deal to do with getting turnout like we did. I know you were out there all election day, and you saw those lines of people in the morning wrapped around the blocks in some cases. Yeah. And I've never seen anything like that in our town before. I know in some places, probably because they need more polling locations, that's kind of a routine. But now you saw it in almost every town. You saw the turnout, but it is really important to remember a truth, right? That more people voted for Trump than anyone else in history, except for, thankfully, Biden, right? I mean, if you look at who got the most votes in history, Trump too. And so it shows that, there's still a great deal of division in the country. And I think, we have to be comfortable navigating in that, knowing that we're still very much divided. Now, luckily, in our little corner of the world, it's a little less divided. Trump didn't break the 30% mark in our time, which was great. It was a good feeling. And it also had an impact, right? Because that helped, was one of the factors for sure that helped propel change in our state legislature, right? Because it was, at least to some extent, a rejection of Trumpism. And so now I think the Republican Party is at a precipice, right? Where do they go from here? And it's interesting because there are some states where they're probably stronger than ever. But then there are a lot of places in the country, like here, where I think they need a clean break, or the party is just going to go away. It's just going to gradually wither and go away, right? And you just didn't. And at this point, maybe they needed him out of office, so maybe we'll see in the coming months. But at this point, you just didn't see that clean break. Even after the attempted insurrection, you didn't see. You should have seen Republican leaders all over the country, but all over our state, coming out in droves, laying the blame where it belongs, but you just didn't see that. So
that's true. I mean, I think if anything I learned during this whole process was that, really our democracy is not made up of people. The people at the time are just the actors that are in place. Our democracy is really made up of ideals in the Constitution surrounding what democracy looks like. Obviously, we're a republic, we're not a monarchy. But I think that everybody keeps saying, oh, Joe Biden, he's not going to do this. I'm like, first of all, I'm celebrating the fact that if we weren't happy with our leadership, we can remove it. I have been a strong proponent. We have made that message clear around the state of Connecticut, here in Hamden, that if you do not subscribe to the agenda of the people, we will find new representatives to lead us. And this is like the grandest level ever right here in the United States, that the whole state, the whole country was in turmoil, and on top of the COVID crisis, on top of the murder of George Floyd and various others since George Floyd. And you continue to receive the same response from this administration and this party right here in the town of Hamden and throughout Connecticut. So it just was time for a change. And I'm just really appreciating the fact that I am an American and I live in a country where I can have my voice heard and make a difference with regard to those that are in legal authority over us. So, thank you so much for joining. We're going to have a press conference this evening, starting at 5 o'clock, where there's going to be a car caravan that's going to end on the City Hall steps in New Haven. Hamden Action Now will be there live streaming the press conference portion. We have some various videos from various folks and activists around the state who are going to share their thoughts for today. And as always, and on behalf of Hamden Action Now, we thank the Hamden Democratic Town Committee and you, Sean Grace, for your awesome leadership in the last year of our town.
Well, thank you, Rhonda, for what you're doing. It's so important, and I'm going to be glued to your stream all day over in the corner here. All
right. Cool. Well, you have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to be joined by Edgar Graham from Urban Concepts and Bridgeport Action Now to hear a few of his thoughts on what he thinks about today and this wonderful inauguration of the 46th president of the United States, Joseph R. Biden Jr. Hi, Mr. Graham. How are you?
Hey, Miss Rhonda. How are you, ma'am?
Good.
Just
good.
watching, just getting some footage in here of President Obama and
President
watching,
Bush.
yeah, watching what should be a historical day, but it has its own history in and of itself by this individual not choosing to participate in something that's historical and being one of the first president in 100+ years or so not to attend.
Yeah,
it's just
it's a testament to the fact that to be a leader, and especially God knows the leader of the free world of the United States, and represent 330 million people, as a minimum, you have to at least be able to rise to the occasion. And clearly, Donald Trump was never that person. He's never been that type of person. And everybody knew this back in 2016 when everybody went to the polls. And we had to endure it for 4 years. And it wasn't until 8:16 this morning that I think majority, when he actually left the White House, and I believe about 8:45 or 8:47 this morning when Air Force One left from Joint Base Andrews with him and his family, that we all kind of breathe a sigh of relief. You know, I was always on edge on like what in the world was going to come out of this White House next.
Right.
You know?
Well, the thing is that, you know, for me, I just want to see what's going to happen. Yeah, I know everyone is gung-ho, and I guess what everyone is saying is that we don't know what Biden administration holds, but we 100% know what the Trump's platform and everything was. So with that being said, it's let's give this individual an opportunity. I mean, Trump is Trump, and Trump will be Trump, and everyone knew what we were getting into, and everyone sat by and allowed this guy to run crazy. And then one day before he's getting out of office, you have Mitch McConnell and these other individuals that are now saying that, oh yeah, he was wrong, he lied. Mitch, where were you after the election? It's ridiculous. It just goes to the premise that, you know, we will decide when we think something is wrong or something is right. You knew that this guy was wrong from when he came down his escalator at Trump Plaza. You knew something was up then. You saw how he obliterated his Republican counterparts that are now his lapdogs. If someone disrespected my father and my wife, there is no way that we're breaking bread anytime, anywhere.
Well, you know, that flag that was on the side of Air Force One that he and his family boarded on their way out of Washington, D.C. this morning represented all Americans.
All Americans.
You know, just not the ones that he agrees with or the ones that he thinks are correct or even him. That flag represents the United States of America and its citizenry, and that includes all of us. And unfortunately, Donald Trump's leadership never considered anybody other than those that agreed with him. If you didn't agree with him, you are off the list.
That's 73 million individuals that didn't agree with him. That's 73 million individuals who do not believe or do not respect what's going on right now. Okay, so that in and of itself is a troubling issue, because that means that so many individuals, and there were still people at the Joint Andrews Air Force Base that was cheering them on, that they're moving forward, but they're doing it under duress. It's like, okay, we have to accept it. Not that this is what do they say? The people have spoken. They still don't believe the people have spoken. and he uses these little microaggressions to say that, oh, I have the most vote by any sitting president, but you still lost. So it doesn't matter. You know,
you
want to use, well,
it wasn't
you
enough.
Still lost. It doesn't matter.
And we continue to, I mean, we'll have to listen to this until the end of time.
Yes.
About how Donald Trump won 74 million votes.
Oh, Biden had 80 million.
But Biden had 81 million. So,
right.
It's but then the insurrection happened.
Right.
Which, as far as I'm concerned, for the Republican Party and for really politics in our country, that was the game changer. Oh, and that was lights out. It's not cute. It's not funny. There's nothing about it that was the least bit respectable to send in a group of armed militia and various white power, white supremacy groups around the country to basically
just about the checklist
and kill Vice President Pence and Speaker Pelosi and whoever else they can get their hands on, to desecrate, like they say, the citadel of liberty in our country, the United States Capitol, to sit in Vice President Pence's chair and make a mockery of who and what we are and broadcast it proudly around the world on your social media and everywhere else. And then you have Fox News, who's continuing to sit on their channel and spew lies and incitement of people who are clearly in a nation that's clearly divided. I mean, I just think forget about, Donald Trump right now. Let's talk about the enablers. And I think Fox News and, like you said, those radio stations and
conservative talk radios, WICC needs to be put on blast.
They were the enablers of, and almost the enabling of what they did is they nearly took out our democracy. It came close.
Yeah.
Because what if they were able to get into Vice President Pence and Speaker Pelosi and those that are in the succession of the hot seat? I mean, what we do, is there a plan? I'm not a constitutional scholar, so I don't know. But what do we do if they would have been successful? God forbid. But, like I said, honestly, I am here really not only just to celebrate, Joe Biden in his inauguration and his lifetime of public service, but just to really underscore the fragility of our democracy and that it cannot be played with. And I think that going forward after this stunt and this 4 years that we've all had to endure, that we cannot be gentle with our democracy. We have to be unapologetically American, and we have to stop being, partisan. You could be partisan on issues, and that's fine because that's what it's all about. But when you start being partisan about the foundations of our democracy, that's when it's game over. And we have to take that language and we must shut it down without question. And I hope that going forward, the Mitch McConnells and the Josh Hawleys and the Ted Cruzes, and even the folks here in the town of Hamden on our town council, who are the Republicans and the Republican Party here in Hamden and in Bridgeport and around the state of Connecticut, would speak out against those who challenge and want to, really attack our democracy, because that's the glue that holds our country together.
Well, for me, Bridgeport is a Democratic city.
It appears
it's a blue city. However, we still have all this racial and social inequities that are going on in a blue city, and Connecticut is a blue state. That that's going to be my mantra for 2021, is that if we are so blue, why are we so blue? Because we shouldn't be having these conversations about a democratic city, a democratic state. The DTC, Hamden is mostly what? Republicans or Democrats?
Democrats. It's a blue town.
It's a blue town. So we have all these blue towns, but it seems that we're somewhere in the South.
How about
all
that?
of our town.
How about that? It
so
appears to look very red. You know, we're a very conservative blue town and a very conservative blue state. We have exceeding voter suppression here in Connecticut. Right. We don't have, you know, we really have none of the things that can allow folks to come out to the polls. So, you know, we are, you know, we have 17 billionaires in our state, yet they pay the same amount of income tax as you.
Right.
That's a problem.
I probably pay more.
You probably pay more. I was gonna say you probably pay more, but yeah. I mean, you know, you need to start acting blue. Connecticut, yes. And Hamden, and Bridgeport, and,
yeah,
and I
New
think
Haven, and New Haven, and wherever the Democrat are running the show, there needs to be some reciprocity filtering down. You drive around in all of these cities, and all of the constructions that are going on is predominantly the individual's name ends with a vowel. And I'm not being racist. I'm not being this. I'm not being that. No. I'm stating facts. So where's the equity that's going to flow down from this blue state?
Well,
that's
you know
going to be inclusive.
Well, the equity comes because of the voter suppression. If you put up all these invisible, very strong barriers to being able to bring candidates in and eliminate these multi-decade incumbents, then the change will start to flow.
Yeah.
You will bring new people to these seats and new perspectives. But when you are suppressed, the new perspectives never can bleed through, because what you'll have is a 30-year perspective of a 30-year incumbent or a 20-year incumbent. So, you know, it needs to be looked at and it needs to be examined. Again, you have to act blue. If you're going to be blue, you have to act blue.
Yes.
And I just believe I agree with you 100%. And that's what I'm saying from my reflection. And I'm hoping that everybody can get from the speakers that come on today to understand that we must hold our blue state accountable.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We have to. Because without it, we will have no progress. Bridgeport, New Haven, Hartford, Waterbury, New London will continue, and to a certain degree, Meriden will continue to stay in its current economic predicament forever, and it needs to stop. These were all communities that were redlined and disinvested and underinvested into for decades, and we have to call it out and root it out. And the rooting process starts at the polls.
Yeah, because
we rooted out a big root on November 3rd, didn't we? Though.
Oh, indeed. Right. Indeed. But I go back to it, Rhonda. I go back to it. Did we really chop off the serpent's head? Because we can hear what Trump is saying, but when you come to Bridgeport, Hamden, New Haven, Connecticut, the language is similar when it comes to dealing with the two communities. So I hear almost the same thing. I see almost the same thing that Trump is saying with what the political machine is saying.
That's right.
It's always okay. We're going to keep you down. I was watching a program on PBS last night, and it was about Chicago and the great the heat wave that hit a couple of years back, that individuals died in high numbers, and they were talking about natural disasters and everything. So they had in Chicago no type of disaster mechanism in place, but 2 counties away, where there's a fault line in Kentucky, multi-billion-dollar exercise. FEMA, everyone was involved, and the individual who's running the documentary, she was like, for 1% of what you guys are outlaying for this exercise, you can save thousands of lives in Chicago. And pretty much what the individual is saying is that, well, FEMA deals with disasters that have occurred.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot put our funds, we cannot reallocate our funds to say that we're going to reallocate them to set up social programs in Chicago. You know how that will come about? Got to change the policies. If the policies were changed and we had new marching orders, then we can redirect, or we could do what the policies changed. So going back to months ago, moving forward, I believe the agenda needs to be to start getting some of these policies changed. Because you can march beside me, you can say that you support my cause, you can say you understand the plight, but you will revert back to, well, the policy is so.
Well, how do you change a policy? You change a policy by changing the people.
By changing the people.
Thank you. Well, okay, so we're going to be off and on throughout the day. I'm going to come back, and we have we have a whole list of folks who are going to come on and have a few words. This evening at 8 o'clock, we're going to have a full hour session where we're going to have various members of the community. Alder Barkeen from New Haven wants to come and say he wants to spend some time and talk about it. You're welcome to come back this evening. I will definitely make sure that I give you access if you're interested in talking some more at length.
Yes, I am.
Actually, President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama have already entered. So now they're bringing in the Biden family. So I'm going to sign off now. And
yes, ma'am. All right.
Reconvene after 12 o'clock. Thank you guys.
All right. Take care, everyone. All right.
Thank you. And thanks so much for watching. We'll be back shortly.